There we go. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Wow, it is cold out. Today is January 6th. It's about 10:15 in the morning, and I am freezing here in greater northeast United States. We're getting some chilly temperatures. It is not friendly. Oh my goodness. Let's see, how are we doing over here? Hey, good afternoon to the folks over there on Mixer. Cryptrix, it looks like. On Mixer, I'm not seeing any chat messages come through from Twitch just yet. But good morning. Come to Minnesota. It's shorts weather. Thank you, Jace. Look at that. It's so cold, my mug turned blue. All right. It's a different mug. What a week. Huge, long week. Program with Dan. Hey, good morning, Program with Dan. I have a hunch I know who Program with Dan is. What a week. Wow. My book went out. That was finally published. We had a couple streams here that we ran through. That was great. And, of course, on Tuesday, .NET Rocks went out, and I was on that edition of their show. That was really cool. I enjoyed talking to the guys over there. But third show of the week, always enjoy the Saturday morning show, because I have a little bit more flexibility with my time on Saturday mornings here, because I'm not expecting the bosses to request a meeting right at noon Eastern time. I don't know, they've got a thing with 9 a.m. on the West Coast and they want to have a meeting. I don't know. Hats. Today's hat, because it's so cold outside, I'm wearing my Captain America wool hat here because it's cold. I'm just a fellow software engineer and a fan of the stream. Cool. Great to see you, Dan. I hope I can learn something from you just as much as you can learn from me here, because we're going to be doing pair programming, right? It's a little bit of everything. So, today's music. This is, of course, music to code by. Carl Franklin graciously gave me permission to use his music. So, this one today, I'm playing Purple, is the name of this song. It was released in 2015 as part of the second album. You can get all of those at mtcb.pwop.com, or you can download his app, Music to Flow By, and you can get all of the songs that'll get you in the groove for writing code. Good afternoon from Germany. Hey, nice to see you there, Tagaron. Right? Am I pronouncing that right? Or is it Tagaron, if that's from Germany? Right? We're going to pronounce a long A. Tagaron. Let me know. I'll clean that up. I always want to recognize folks that are chiming in here. Let's see. So I've done my rundown. Let's got to get into that flow. Oh yes, absolutely. Let's see. What do we want to go to here? Let's start off with taking a look at GitHub, see if we have any issues that we need to resolve, we want to go over before going and digging into the project that we want to continue working on today. So let's change over here. Here's, of course, my GitHub, right? GitHub's a great resource for not just hosting your source code, but hosting your ideas, your projects. Visual Studio Team Services does a great job of this also. I want to make sure that my colleagues that work on that product, they get some, I recognize them. They're doing some work to really get that service up and running, and it really has a lot of great features, particularly around continuous integration. So let's take a look-see here. I'm going to start off in configuration builders, then we'll take a look at Epic Build Music, and then I'm going to jump over to the live stream, and then we'll look at Stream Tools last. Configuration builders, this is a collection of tools that you can use to inject configuration into your .NET Framework applications from some third-party location. And it looks like we don't have any new issues or pull requests here. These are the 2 issues that I left there. So we're good. I won't clean up anything more here. Epic Build Music. Play Epic Build Music while your Visual Studio process runs. This is a neat little Visual Studio extension that we started. I think this is the same number of issues. Yep, so nothing new here. And then the live stream. This is where I'm trying to be, and I want to be, transparent with all the viewers and subscribers of the stream. And I want to show you exactly what I have planned, what things are going on. So, nothing new, no new requests, no new questions here that we want to go through just yet. I'm having some problems with my Windows containers here, so I'm actually going to put the postponed label on this one also. But I will definitely come back to these Windows container questions. And I still haven't, I got to remember to get Imo on the phone, see if we can get him in to help us with talking about library design and which .NET Framework versions we should target. So I gotta take an action item to address that. And finally, the project that we're currently working on is called Stream Tools, and this is a collection of little tools that are generated using ASP.NET and embedded widgets in the video here. And actually, taking a look here, I forgot to start them. That feels bad. I'm sorry. That's my fault here. I'll even show you how I started here. So, I actually run 2 machines when I run the stream. This is what you're seeing here. This is my developer machine here. And you can't see it, but it's actually called Jeff's Yoga. And this command window that I dragged onto the screen from down below, this is coming from my production machine, the machine that's actually doing the rendering and streaming of content that I send over to you. So I actually have over here in my dev folder, in a folder called Twitch Stream, where is it? Tools. I have a tools folder, and I've got a couple commands that help me start up and run my stream. Now, this tool is designed to run from inside a Docker container. That way it's portable, and I can just lift and run my widgets wherever I need them, and eventually we'll be able to publish this and enable other video streamers to use similar tools. So I'm set up that I can just type run, and it'll start running my widgets for me, and hopefully that top bar here on the stream will start filling out appropriately. So let's see if we can get that filled out. There we go. So this is my ASP.NET web server called Kestrel, announcing that it's running and it's listening for requests. Now I'm going to reach down here into OBS. I'm just realizing I've got so much forehead showing. Oh my gosh. Let me come back to your question, Rocket. There. Let me come back to you in just a second. I'm going to refresh my my widgets here. Make sure they load up properly. And my follower goal widget. Let's get that to refresh. And they should pop up in just a second there on the top of the screen. There we go. And that still looks weird, that follower goal widget. All right, so Rocket's question over there is, what OS is the Docker instance running? So the Docker instance, it's running well, let me show you. It's running, I'm going to open my project here in Visual Studio 2017. Let me show you this here for a second. Remind me to come back to that stream, the recent projects thing over there. Here we go. So my project, here's my ASP.NET Core project here, and there's my Docker file for it. Now, this Docker file is based on Microsoft ASP.NET Core 2.0. Now, that image, right, if we go and walk down the image information here, hub, docker.com, I think it's R, Microsoft ASP.NET. Do I have that right? So this is the full ASP.NET one, We don't want that one. We want the ASP.NET Core. There it is. So this one is running on top of Jessie. All right. So you can also run it on Windows Nano Server if you'd like to run on Nano Server, but I like running on top of Linux. As a longtime Windows Server developer, it makes me feel daring. Nah, not really. I'm comfortable with Linux. So yep, it's running on Jessie, which isn't Jessie like a derivative of Ubuntu? I forget. So it runs on Microsoft.NET, and that one depends on Jessie somewhere down the line. Debian, there you go. And actually, I thought Ubuntu was a derivative of Debian. Okay. So I'm still not thrilled with how OBS is misdisplaying. Is that the word I want to use? The bar up at the top there. Excuse me. Here's a question from Fossils in the Twitch chat room. Do you know if there are plans to release updated documentation on ASP.NET Core webhooks? I'm trying to write a custom webhook handler receiver for ASP.NET Core, and there's no real documentation other than the code on GitHub. That was written... Webhooks were written by Heinrich. Let me think. What's the fastest way I can get to Heinrich? There he is, Heinrich Nielsen. I believe this is him. Yep. So he is the co-author of ASP.NET Webhooks. And they were working on it. And gosh, he hasn't had tweets in a while here. So we can bounce a question off of Heinrich as to where that is, where it's going. Let's actually... I'm going to put another item over here in the issue list. What is the status of webhooks for ASP.NET Core? No documentation yet. Yeah, just leave it like that. You could set the bar to render at 100% width and just size it in OBS. All right, so let me come back to here we go. DJ Vortex, good afternoon. Just started using Docker to run SQL Server for Linux. Cool. Because my new web app is written in Node, I'm almost fully independent from Microsoft. Okay. If that works for you, great. Have you tried using Visual Studio Code? I know a lot of Node.js developers really like using Visual Studio Code for their JavaScript development. Real easy to use. You like SQL Server a lot more than other RDBMSs. Yeah, they've put a lot of work into that, and the fact that it's now available in a Docker image is really cool. And VS Code. All right, cool. All right, let me come back to now. No, Jobun, you had a good comment there. I could set the bar to render with 100% width and just size it in OBS. So I had it. So what we're talking about is the bar up here, the ASP.NET Core Workshop goal bar here. Now, if you haven't been here and you don't know what I'm talking about, I set a goal that when we get to 500 followers, I will host an 8-hour ASP.NET Core workshop. Invite your friends, your colleagues, and I will go through, and actually it'll be material from my book. The book. There it is. And we will do 8 hours of ASP.NET Core. I'll answer your questions. We'll have a good time. There's a little bit of Angular mixed in there. So that's what will happen when we hit that goal. And I talked to a colleague this week and said, hey, can I have you as a guest when we hit a certain goal here? And they were quite eager and said, absolutely, that would be terrific. So after we hit the 500 goal, we'll talk about the next goal and who and what we can do with that. Tagaron? Let me know if I'm pronouncing that. I find this show format great. Gives not only coding info, but also gives me lots of ideas how to present stuff to an international team via Skype. Thank you for your effort. Well, if you want to see anything about how I've got things set up here, I think I don't think I put a link. I didn't put a link to my setup here. Feels bad. Right? No, I didn't. I didn't put a link in the README. If you go to live.jeffreyfritz.com, it'll take you to the page about my live stream here on my blog. And if you scroll down here, there's actually a link to Live Streaming 101. Static Void podcast. Thanks so much. I'm guessing that's Chris out there rehosting us. Thank you. But there's a link here to a post of mine called Live Streaming 101, and I talk about my setup. So check that out. That'll help. That may help you out in planning and setting up if you want to do something like this. And you can't see it, but there is that green screen behind me here. I wish I had an easy way to turn off the chroma key so you could just see it. Is it this one? And then can I do... Where is it? I know how to do this. I know what I'm doing here. Color space. No, that's not it. No. Oh, wait. That's not the filter. Haha. Alright, here we go. Filters. Right, so there's me. Right, and this is what I think is really cool. Right, I'm just going to change this to magenta. There you go, so you can see it's actually just a green screen behind me there. Oh my gosh, look at my lips, that looks terrible. Thanks, Steve. Blue, and I kind of disappear. Right, but it's green, and that's the color of the screen behind me. And it looks nice and easy. So, let's see. Static Void podcast. Yeah, I haven't found a one-button way to do it. And Mixer doesn't have... To answer Chris's question there on the side, I haven't found a one-button way to rehost somebody else's stream. There's... on Twitch, there's this concept of auto-hosting. And it looks like DevChatter is actually rehosting me right now on Twitch. Thank you, DevChatter, and the followers over there on the DevChatter channel. I appreciate you joining us. If you click through to my channel, you can actually see and chat with us. Program with Dan, thank you for the follow. Chris was talking more about the chroma key on-off. Yeah, there isn't an easy way to... If I remove the filter and re-add it, I have to reconfigure it. Use the English version of the name. What's the English version of the name Tagaron? Tagaron? See, that sounds so Philadelphia. Ugh. Hi, folks. Just started studying ASP.NET Core. Welcome. That's great. We'll get into our project here in just a minute. You've been using ScorpBot. I'm not familiar with ScorpBot. All right. So I want to put that link in here. Let's do that real quick. So this is my live stream repository. I'm going to click into my README page. You have to leave it on all the time. That's not good. Fossil says, sounds like Julix, is that how you pronounce that? Could use my new ASP.NET Core book. You're welcome to buy it, absolutely. I also have videos on Microsoft Virtual Academy. So lots of places that you can find me talking about this stuff. And if you're in the Philadelphia area, stop by philly.net on, not this Wednesday. Wednesday the 24th? and I'll be there talking about ASP.NET Core as well. All right, I wanted to edit this. So here on GitHub, there's a easy edit file button here, and we can see that the readmes are written in Markdown, right? So it's this simple markup, which I think is getting more and more complicated and is turning into HTML 0.5. But that's just me. But I am going to provide a link back to this. Watch recordings, watch live, blah, blah, blah. Current projects. So I'm going to add a block down here at the bottom. Jeff's setup. And Jeff has written about how he has the hardware configured, as well as the software to produce the stream on his blog. And his blog will turn that into a link, so we'll put like that, and then the link to live streaming 101, I'm just going to copy that link and paste it in, not there, here. There we go. So there's also a cool little preview changes deal here that I can click, and I should see, there it is. They give me the little green bar here to show me what has changed. And that link, yep, it properly goes to the page I wanted it to. Looks good. So I'm going to go back to my edit. Added links to my, not links, a link to my setup. Blog post. There we go. Commit directly into the master branch. Yep. Works for me. All right. Good. Did an R stream? What is the status of that? Okay, so I'm at 13 over there. No problem. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to leave that open. I can get rid of that page. Good. Now, I'm going to go back, and Joe Budden was saying, you know, hey, we could try sizing and working on that bar a little bit here. Figure out why it's stretched funny, and I'm missing the end there. This is going to be tricky. I'm going to just edge this up, because if I bring all of OBS into the screen, and look, it's actually, yeah, it's not going to let me unless I put all of OBS up there. Triggers my OCD. Tell me about it. I feel the same way. No, not display to. I want my goal list. So right now, here's the configuration for the goal list. So it's going to this location, and it's got a width fixed in there of 800. What happens if I shrink this down to 750? See, that didn't really help at all. Oh, wait a sec. Look at this. Margin 0px. You know what? Let's do, so 0 pixels and then auto, right? When you have margin and it has two values after it, right? The first one is the top and bottom value. So 0 pixels top and bottom, that feels okay. But auto, I wonder what happens if I can turn that to 2 pixels. See if that helps, right? I feel like I'm losing more of it, right? If I set this to 10 pixels, it actually doesn't look like it's doing anything. And overflow hidden. What happens if I just get rid of that? Yeah, see, it's not actually changing anything. Why am I losing? Right? I mean, it's clearly cutting this off. Right? Force this to like 500. Make it really small. And it's still the same thing. Now, in case you haven't seen what I'm doing here, let me copy this URL. The project has the ability to size that bar appropriately. Okay, so, and look at that. Look at that. Hello. Aha. So, what I've done in the page, and we'll take a look at this code in a minute, if there's a query string parameter called width, it'll take that and size this appropriately. You have a copy of my book through school? Do tell. Really? That'd be phenomenal. All right. So I'm going to go back into my follower goal deal here, and I'm going to change this back to 750 and see if I can get that to fit better. See, and it's still kind of stretched wonky there. Wonky? Yeah, wonky. I guess that works. 780? There we go. There we go. Don't move. All right. Change the width equals 800 for lower. That's what I tried doing, but I mean, I wanted it to be 800, and it was just off, right? It just didn't look right. All right, let me go over to the project here, and I'll show you how and where some of that stuff is being passed in there, and then we'll get back into the code where we left off. That follower goal it's being built using is it a page? No, it's an MVC. So it is being built out of this followers goal template here. The CSHTML extension indicates that this is a Razor template. Now, a Razor template is nothing more than HTML with a little bit of C# sprinkled into it. And in Razor parlance, in the Razor template, you use another book. Okay, that's fine. It's not mine. Kidding, totally kidding. In Razor parlance, you switch back and forth between C# and HTML or text by prefixing things with an @ symbol, okay? So you @ and then you can put curly braces and you can denote that this is a block of C#. Or you can do various directives like @model says this is the type of the model that we're using here. No problem. If English is not your primary language, I am very forgiving. It's people like Chris, Space Shot there, that I'll give him a hard time. He's a friend. We go back a ways here. All right. So I've got a little bit of HTML here, and I'm actually just going to collapse up the head. And you can see here's the information about the width, how wide I'm going to make my progress bar, and this is the HTML formatting for it, and I'm just passing in things from my model, right? My model, in the case of this, is coming out of this controller, right? And a controller is nothing more than a C# class that has a couple of methods that listen to and respond to a specific route, right? A specific address that's been requested. So in this case, by default, whatever comes before the word controller in the name of your class, so in my case, followers, is the first part of that route. And then whatever the name of your method is, in this case, count, or perhaps goal, that is the next part of the route. Or you can override that by actually specifying the route using an attribute like this right above your method. So this is saying when ASP.NET, when you receive a request that starts with followers, goal, and then has some sort of a number, and then some sort of a block of text at the end here, trigger this method. And this number that's in here, and I should provide a filter on this, a constraint on this. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Add a route constraint to ensure that goal is a number. I'll show you how to do that. So because I'm using this template here, this with the braces around the goal, whatever this value is, it'll capture that and pass it in through this input parameter to this method. And same thing with the caption here. If there is no value specified here, it'll pass along the value 0. And if there's no value specified in this last section, it'll pass along an empty string to the caption method. So, excuse me, could give my teachers a tip of oh, perhaps you could show them my book. Go ahead. Hey, this is written by one of the ASP.NET guys, and he's got a cool stream. You should really check it out. So we're just capturing this information and putting it into a follower goal object. And this follower goal object has a caption, a current value, and a goal value. And the current value is pulled out of Twitch and Mixer and summed up and stashed in this property. And then the goal value is whatever you passed in. We return that. And I use that model to size my bar appropriately here. Now, since the width isn't part of this template, it'll look for that as a query string parameter, right? So that's where question mark width equals. If it finds a value there, it'll pass it in here. Otherwise, it'll default to the value of 800. Fossils, because width isn't in the route attribute, it's treated as a query parameter. You got it. You got it. That's absolutely right. So it'll look for that as a parameter on the query string, right? Question mark width equals. And that's actually what, right? So here's my OBS settings, right? Let's see if I can put those two side by side. There we go. So, right, I'm navigating to followers goal, and then there's a number, right? So that gets captured and dropped into this. And then my caption is the next bit. So ASP.NET Core Workshop, that's captured and dropped into my caption string here. And then because I specified this argument width equals, it'll capture that 780 and drop it into this parameter. Is the route an absolute override, or can you use the default also? You can use the default as well. Yes. I wanted to make goal and caption parameters that looked like they were part of the string here. I could have changed this and done something like this, and caption equals and width equals, and have this collection of arguments, right? Query string, right? The parameters after the question mark on a URL. The query string parameters are separated with the ampersand here, right? And they're name value pairs, right? It's a name followed by an equal sign and then the value. And that value has to be URL encoded. So even though I have spaces here, these are being turned into a %20 behind the scenes and then being decoded by ASP.NET and passed in as a normalized string to this goal method. So that's a little bit about how that works, and it actually gets pushed into here. And that width value I'm sticking into what's called the view bag. And the view bag is a dynamic collection. You can just assign properties to it, right? I can foo equals bar, and that's okay, right? View bag is a dynamic object. So load it up with whatever you'd like, and that view bag gets passed into your Razor template, and you can just start referencing things out of it, and it'll echo them into your template. So that's what I'm doing here. That width that is being captured here, I'm stashing that value inside of my width property of my view bag, and I just drop it here along with px, and that's the width of my bar, right? The full width of the bar. Okay, cool. So I think this is good. I don't think I need to change any code in this, but I've shown you now how that works a little bit. Now, I wanted to add a route constraint to ensure that the goal is a number. Now, route constraints right? So this route here, right, is more or less specifying a template, right? This is what we're listening for, and we're going to capture these values and send them off. If we go to docs.microsoft.com and go into ASP.NET, and I'm going to start navigating to this, and then I'm going to come to that question. This one. Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. Ugh. Fundamentals. Is this it? Yep. Routing. There we go. Now the question from Thrice Blinded: is there a general guidance these days on attribute routing versus convention-based routing? No. Whatever makes you happy. So the question real to summarize it for folks who aren't familiar with these terms, there is a convention base that you can define down here in your startup class, where you configure how ASP.NET is going to start up and interact with your browsers. When you say app use MVC, there's a default route that folks typically use, and actually there's even a helper method here called use MVC with default route. What happens if I zoom that? How does that look on OBS? Hey, look at that. I can reach up and grab that. No. So this will actually create it with this same route that you see here. I just like to have it there because having it spelled out for me reminds me exactly what this looks like. The default route, and I hinted at this, is whatever the name of the controller is, followed by whatever the name of the action, the method that you want to call, and then perhaps an ID value that would be passed in. Space Shot, Chris writes, in very large products, some people don't even want the controller to know the route it is associated with, perhaps decentralized routing concerns in some other way. Yes. That's a great point from Chris. If by putting the route information over here, the Ninth Life 999, thank you for the follow, I appreciate that. By putting the routes over here, the controllers know nothing about where they're actually listening and interacting. However, you can certainly put together a part, make this a partial class, and in some other file, decorate it with what you want the route to be. But I like the idea of having my route table in one place, because then when I do need to debug and see what's going on with my routes, it's all in one place and it's easy for me to find what that looks like. And this followers controller bit isn't hiding on me. There it goes. If you don't expect your routes to change much, then attribute routing is easy to follow. Yeah, for smaller projects, attribute routing is very easy to follow. It's very easy to find and see what's going on. In this project where I've got, 3 controllers, no big deal. You know, I've mostly used attribute routing because it's very explicit when looking at a controller what the route is. You're right, it is. But I could see how that would fall away when the project gets large. Yep, it's all about choice. What makes you happy? If this makes you happy, go for it. But when it does come time that you do have a large set of attributes and you have to debug and figure out where everything goes, you're going to want them centralized. So it's the kind of thing that you will need when your project gets there. Absolutely right. And you know what? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if there was an analyzer and a code fixer you could control dot on a route attribute or on an HTTP post or HTTP get and have it move that into the startup class and add it appropriately to your route table over here? That would be pretty cool. Battle Axiom, you're right, it is. It is freezing out there. Take it easy out there. That would be pretty useful. I think you're right. So I'm gonna I thought I'm going to open a wiki page over here. Project ideas. Here are some project ideas we're kicking around. First one we were talking about was a Roslyn analyzer. This was the other day. Tell me when I'm using methods not intended for configure services. Configure, and they should be in the other method. Right, I always get confused between those two methods. For some reason, my mouse is really jumping around here on this machine. Is there something going on over here that I don't know about? What are you doing over there? Nope, looks like he's running fine. But the mouse is jumpy. I'm going to blame Firefox. And then the one we were just talking about, Roslyn. That's not how you spell Roslyn. Analyzer, code fix, move route attributes to startup route table method. Let's just blame Intel. That's not bad. Cool. All right. I'm gonna just keep updating that and adding more ideas as they come up. All right. So I wanted to show you how to put a constraint on a route. So if we scroll down here, here we go. Template reference, yes. Constraints. So what a constraint does is it allows you to match and ensure that the route has specific attributes in order to be matched by a certain method. So I want that goal to be an integer. So if I just add a :int to the end of that template, it'll start using that as an extra level of enforcement. So let me see where to go here. Right, I'll just do that. And now it'll ensure that that is a number coming in. There's also, you know what? I feel like the caption should have a maximum length also, because I don't want it to be too long, or else it's going to make that goal bar look a little bit crazy. So it's max length and then the value that I want to enforce. So let's do that for my caption here. So I'm going to go max length. What do you think? ASP.NET Core Workshop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 12, 13, 17, 21. What do you say we make it 25 characters? Now let's see what that looks like. So I'll start my application with the debugger attached here by clicking the little startup button up top. Gotta have coffee on this morning. Woo! Alright, so now I will go to followers goal. And just navigating there, that looks bad. So how do I make a caption an empty string and still get to enforce my max length? Can I do... double single quote? Will that work? And before I go any further, let me see if the watch tools are installed here. I usually install the watch tools. I have it installed. Good. The watch tools, I don't need the debugger attached right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit here. And, yep, I'm going to open a command prompt. That's a big command prompt. cd dev fritz stream tools fritz Stream tools. Now, the watcher tool, this is kind of like the, right, isn't it NPM watch? Is that what it is over there? What I can do is I can say .NET watch run, and it'll execute the command line tool .NET will execute the run command, and whenever a file in this project changes, it'll restart. So this way, I can iterate quickly on my project without having to constantly start and stop Visual Studio. So there it is, and it's on 59201. Good. So it's over here, so I'll refresh that. Now it still looks weird. Organic IT, good morning. How are things on the Pacific Coast? So now, because I have this watcher tool installed, I'm going to come over here, and I'm actually going to... What happens if I do that? Now I changed my code, so you see the watch is recycling. There we go. And I'll see the web host. Is the colon in the right place? Caption constraint equals value. Maybe. That didn't work either. Let's go back to the routing thing here. I see where DJ Vortex is going. Let me... Or what happens if I put a question mark at the end of it? Like that. There we go, rebuilding. Calculating. Cool. All right, I'll refresh the page. Ooh, that's not right. Down to the question mark, character marks, and parameters. Optional, can only occur at the end of the parameter. Yeah. Star character marks a parameter as catch-all and can only occur at the start of the parameter. Yeah. So what if I do that and do this? Is that better? Now I'm going to need a value over here for this. Right, you can't have default parameters. That was a useful exception page. I know, right? When I have exceptions, I want to be told everything about why it errored out. And I love the very descriptive exception pages that we're getting now. Yep, Joe Bun saying set the default value on the function tags. And I think we're on the same path there. See how that works? Let's see how that looks. Okay, now that feels really bad. Well, actually, it's not matching. It's not matching at all here, right? If I do that... Nope, doesn't like it. Yeah, the question mark needs to be at the end. Rats. So if I get rid of that, let's see how that recycles. I think Blow Dart shivered somewhere. Oh, stop it. Blow Dart is my security officer. And, yeah. So that's not actually returning anything, but if I set my goal 500, still not returning anything. Hello. And now I get a value. Battle Axiom. I like .NET Core error messages usually. Sometimes when you're handling SQL queries, it gets a little funky. Can you give me an example? Maybe we can pass back some feedback to the team. We can help improve things. So what I did there, by adding these constraints, it's actually making these things a little bit required, right? If I turn that off like that, well, let's see what it does. Come on, there we go. Yeah, still doesn't like it. So what I think I'm seeing here is, right, when I added these constraints, did I save that? Didn't save it. Let that run. Right, I could match on a regular expression. I don't want to do that. But it's also kind of making them required, which I'm not completely sold on. For this project, at least. Right, if I delete that, yeah. Too early for regex. Let me finish my coffee. I don't blame you on that. I'm not going to get into the regex. I'm actually kind of okay with it not matching. But if it doesn't match, wouldn't it be great if we had a nice... wouldn't it be great? Who was it who said that right there? Wouldn't it be great if, like Battle Axiom said, if we had a cool error message that we could display on the screen? I really like that idea, Battle Axiom. I do. You know what? Let's do that. Because one of the things that I've been feeling bad about with this is there isn't really good documentation around this. So let's do that. Let's just create an empty one here and listen on route, followers, goal. And then, you know what? Let's add a catch-all, right? And the catch-all is star stuff, right? Whatever. I don't care. String stuff, right? Now, I action result goal, and it's probably choking because it wants me to return something. Yes. So, you know what? I'm just going to return... I'm going to return a view. And, yeah, let's just do that. And then what I can do, you know what? I don't want to just return a view. Let's return a specific named view. Let's call this, no, here we go. Docs goal. Right? Maybe we end up moving this somewhere else later. But for right now, let's just do this. Because at some point, I'm going to end up making this available for other people to use. Yeah, that's fine. Don't have an example offhand, but sometimes it just throws back a whole bunch of HTML of the error page. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. Tell you what, Battle Axiom. Next time you run into it, drop me a line, open an issue in the live stream repository, and we'll talk about it on a stream, and we'll go through it and see what we can do to clean stuff like that up. Followers goal. Here we go. H1. The followers goal. Right? And then we do something like, this is a simple horizontal meter that fills as you get more followers. Use the following syntax. Slash followers, excuse me, slash goal. Use the following URL syntax. Haha. And let's do that. That's better. Followers goal. goal value. Caption. Question mark width. Yeah. And then let's do a definition list. First term is goal value. The integer value, that should be the maximum. No, the number. No, the integer value of the goal number of followers. Something like that. Bruno, sorry for running late. I started late. It's all right. All right, so next one was caption. The caption to display that defines the goal. And then let's add other parameters. Right, and width. Ooh, I better describe. Other parameters can be passed on the. This is really low on the screen. There we go. Can be passed on the query string using name value syntax. Using standard. Haha, there we go. Width. The width in pixels of the bar. Sure. So now, because I have that page out there and I've added this extra little method here that does nothing but returns that view, I should be able, when I don't have anything, I get my little data page. Fantastic. Telling people, hey, you dummy, you need to actually fill this in. So then when I fill it in, I've got the actual values, I get the actual bar. Fantastic. That feels like a nice, simple, no significant code added addition to that. Let's do a quick check here. Yeah, let's add that. Views, followers, docs. There we go. Let me commit that. Added a page documenting how to use the followers goal. That feels kind of handy. All right. So, now I'm trying to think, where did we leave off on Thursday? And my apologies, I haven't been keeping up with writing the blog post to update and summarize what's been going on here. I need to do that later this afternoon. Where did we leave off? We were... Wouldn't it be great if I had some sort of a log of all the files that had changed and exactly when they had been changed? Making testing follower counts easier. Oh, that's what I was doing. Okay. So we were walking through getting the follower counts to be updated with SignalR. And we were talking about doing some dependency injection to pass along the number of followers and viewers a little bit easier. All right, so let's... Where did we go? I think we're doing this now. We're handling the empty caption. No, let me come back to that. All right, So I have an API that'll actually deliver the new information. I have a post that'll allow me update and set. Here's the number of followers that we have. And the post, I don't know why my machine's kind of dragging along here, will invoke asynchronously the onFollowers updated method on the client side. Lucky Zebra, I had switched from Mixer to Twitch because it seriously lags there, which is a pity. Mixer looks great. By the way, thanks for streaming. Kind of new here. Must admit, lovely programming staff is taking place here. Oh, well, thank you, Lucky Zebra. Hope you enjoy it. I'm working git show stat commit hash. Pretty useful for showing files you changed at a particular commit. Oh, I love git tips. Oh my gosh. Let me try that. So let me do a git log, and I'm going to grab this hash here, foxa6. All right. So what Battle Axiom is saying, git show stat, and then if I do foxa6, unknown revision or path not in the working tree. Do I need to put more on the end of that? There it goes. And there's the files that change. That's cool. I gotta file that one away. Thank you, Battle Axiom. Git show stat. Good tip. Thank you. Yeah, and it shows that I was working on the service updated event args. That's really neat. Cool. Thank you. All right. So I have the post, and it calls the invoke async on followers count updated. And this is a method that actually lives on the client. Now, when folks typically work with WebSockets, right? You open a WebSocket and you point to a server and you say, I'm listening at that location, establish a socket connection, and you're listening, and it does reconnects if necessary, these types of things. And you're just passing information down there. What SignalR in ASP.NET lets you do is it lets you say, execute this method name that lives in that JavaScript client side. So check this out. In the goal page, we had this pull request that was created for us, and we merged in last time. See, we have this hub connection, right? And it gets a SignalR HTTP connection to a specific address that I called follower stream. Now, it says hub connection on, and then here's the name of that method, on followers count updated, and then I define that method here with this information, and data is the name of the parameter that's being passed down. So I have this little anonymous function that's named with a string here. It works. Meet Popsicle. Phil Hack has a nice list of git aliases on his blog that can make stuff like that easier to type out. Oh, cool. Share a link. That would be great stuff that I just haven't touched in a long time. Yeah, I see a number of folks, it looks like, migrating from Mixer to Twitch, looking at the viewer count up there in the corner on the two services. That's okay. Git aliases are a blessing to have in general. Yeah, you're right. So this method, when that onFollowers count updated method is being called from the server, and it's only listening to a specific location, so on that server that I came from, when it receives it, that data, which in this case is going to be the new follower count, it resets the size of the current bar. That's pretty easy. Resets the label, and then it resets the width of that appropriately. So that's pretty easy to understand and see there. And of course, the last thing we have to call whenever we're writing client-side SignalR code is start, right? We need to actually start that connection, open that WebSocket so that we're listening back and forth. And we can also send commands back up to it, but not in this case because it's very one-directional how we're interacting with the server. We're just receiving information as soon as it changes. So, I'm not a fan of this syntax being sprinkled everywhere. I decided to buck the trend and watch this on Mixer. I'm surprised this is the first I'm hearing about SignalR. Oh my gosh, Battle Axiom. Yes, SignalR is pretty cool, and I don't remember if they're doing it in the new version that comes with ASP.NET Core, but in the previous version of SignalR that came with the full .NET framework, so it only ran on Windows servers, there is a capability for SignalR to actually step down. So if the browser that's coming to your web application doesn't support WebSockets, there's like 3 other technologies it'll try in order to establish that live connection with it. Sushinator? Welcome. Thank you for following, and thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure to see you here on the stream. So let me just take a look at the client here, because the client JavaScript is just sitting here. It's easy for you to open and read. Parse messages, write messages. I'm trying to see where it opens the connection. There we go. So it'll do an XHR with promises. Right, so that XHR is an XML HTTP request. That's effectively an AJAX GET request. So, resolve URL, HTTP connection, client, logger, transports. I'm looking for socket. I'm looking for the word socket. Hub protocol. Socket. There we go. If transport type is WebSockets, server send events, or long polling. There you go. Those are the 3 transport types. So, but it prefers WebSockets, server send events. I forget what server send events are. But long polling, quite literally, is it won't finish delivering the stream for a very long time, the request for a very long time. But it takes a preference for WebSockets because it's real easy to use. Lucky Zebra, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to grab those links from you, Popsicle, and take a look at those. That looks pretty cool. And they're old, too. 2012 and 2014. I'm behind the times. But I'm not a fan of this, because I'm going to end up having this followers context sprinkled everywhere that I want to use, that I want to reach out and tell all my clients to do the same thing. And that feels like... Right, that feels like I'm going to have magic strings hanging out there, you know what I mean? I don't want to over-refactor, but I feel like I do need to do some refactoring. Oh, thank you for the follow, Battle Axiom. Alright, let's, if you haven't noticed, the follower bars and counts up top, they've been updating immediately because they're now using SignalR. But I'm going to take this and I want to refactor this thing, put it into its own client class, I guess, that has it in one place so that it's easy to centralize, and I'm not looking for it everywhere. And I'm not reinventing this code in every location. So I'm gonna go, and it's very similar to what I'm doing with this. I'm just gonna stick this over here to start. Demon Rage 20, thank you for the follow. So let's say public class. Let's call it follower client. And this thing needs to take... So I used the constructor snippet there. Right, if you type CTOR, and I think this works in Visual Studio Code as well, and you hit tab, it generates a constructor. But I need to take in the same thing that was over here, an iHub context, follower context. So I will do that here. And before I start moving things around here, I'm going to move this to its own class. There we go. And I'm going to just control dot on these things. You can do this in Visual Studio Code also. And it'll give you suggestions to fix, including generating those using statements. It's like a lifetime of Stack Overflow searches rolled into one page. Nice. All right. So I am going to say this dot follower context equals follower context. Just control dot on that and create that read-only property. And now I'm just going to create a method that does this over here, not there. Here, right? So public, we'll have it return void. And we'll call this update followers. Int new followers. Excuse me. There we go. That should take care of that. So then I should be able to take this and just turn this into a follower client. I'm just going to call it client. Nah. Follower client. Spell it right, Jeff. There we go. Follower client. So now, yep.
Developers.
Xavier DD, thank you for the follow. This is an aside. Are there any devs out there who are also into cars? I'm working on an open source ASP.NET Core 2 project to create a social media platform for automotive enthusiasts. Neat. That's pretty cool. Alright, so I've got my follower client there. So now this thing doesn't exist, but what I can do is just say follower client, update followers, and pass in my new follower count. Now I'm going to go back to my follower client because I don't want this to be public. Let's make this private. Because I don't want anybody touching that thing. Hello, I work with Java. Okay, that's fine. This is ASP.NET Core we're working in today, but I think you'll find a lot of the syntax is similar to what you see in Java. But .NET, of course, has some things that are optimized and centralized because we have a base class library instead of the very diverse set of jars and libraries that you have in Java. But I think you'll be able to find your way around this pretty well. Structures that we have in ASP.NET, like MVC, and how we use that framework along with the Razor templating language, I think are pretty easy to pick up. And our C# language, of course, is very similar to Java. Are there chat messages coming from somewhere else? Yes, actually. Battle Axiom. I'm broadcasting to both Twitch and Mixer. And if you look in the video on the right side, there are folks from Mixer who are chatting as well, and you can see both sets of comments being dropped into the comments there. I'm not sure I want to open that pixel art link here. on camera. Oh, cool. Is this just an open canvas that you... What is this about? Neat. That's a neat little project. Okay, so I've moved my interaction. I've centralized things here so that it's in one place. Hey, why are you still using jQuery? I thought they removed the dependency in SignalR too. I was using jQuery, and in our last stream, we finished removing it so that we don't need jQuery in here any longer. So you're absolutely right. I can remove it. And it's that was the refactoring we did. Sabine, I'll go with that. The refactoring was I went from a every 5 seconds polling with jQuery to SignalR, where we get so that we can get the instant updates being pushed through. So, and I see Battle Axiom is now talking across services. I actually had and I'll bring it up again. I had some folks talk about, does it make sense to centralize and move chat to Discord instead of one service or another? And some folks were actually saying, well, heck, I'm writing this Stream Tools project. Let's just host our own chat room there, a la Jabber, the SignalR chat room, and we could host and run it out of that. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. But I want to get your opinions before I go and decide to start moving it. Yeah, it would be great if I centralized it. Can't use Discord. Okay. So if I did centralize it to something like chat.jeffreyfritz.com, it'd be one place you'd be able to navigate to, and everybody can chat back and forth, and we would pretty much ignore what goes on in the chat rooms on the individual services. So, just thinking that one through. And then, of course, I got to set up moderation on that, and it'll be an interesting project if we centralize. So, might be hard as a mobile user, though, would be my only complaint. You don't need the IIFE on the goal page. Well, okay, I did right. So that's good point. This is a jQuery thing there. We need to get rid of that and do it like that. Right? IIFE is I'm forgetting the abbreviation. Initial something. What is IIFE? No, not immediately invoked function expression. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Discord's API is pretty open. It is. Look at that. And yeah, see that? It's been forever since I haven't done JavaScript as a day-to-day thing in a while. Iffy. But I think I do need that expression in order to ensure that the hub connection doesn't actually start until after everything loads. I do think, excuse me, I do think I can move these couple items outside of this. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I have celiac, and something that I've been told is that folks with celiac disease, you end up with when you talk for a long time, you end up getting a little bit of gas, and that becomes interesting. Devin, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I don't think you needed the JS runs last on page. It does, but I do need to make sure that the SignalR client is all attached and ready to go. We can try removing it. Wouldn't hurt to remove it, right? So if I yank that, right? And is it still running? It's not running. Let's do, is that a rogue HTML comment on line 69? No. Ah, good question, Fossils. So, in the old days, we used to wrap our JavaScript in HTML comments just to ensure that the browser doesn't parse it. Nothing wrong with using it, but it's an old school way to wrap your JavaScript. So I'm going to .NET watch run over here. So this starts running. It's a way for me to show my age. That's what it is. All right, let me go. Let's go localhost. What was it? 52 what? 59201. Ugh. 59201. Ah, come on. Come on. Followers goal 500 feels bad, man. Didn't work. What did I do? Unable to resolve service for type follower client. Ah. I did not register the follower client with the dependency injection. I didn't want to click that. There we go. So dependency injection is this bit here, configure services. Holding my breath. This is where dependency injection configuration occurs. The container configuration occurs, right? Spaces in the URL, what sorcery is that? Oh, come on now. So I need to make sure that the follower client is available and that it knows how to inject those things. The celiac comment made me look up from my chores, pay more attention, and laugh out loud. No, really, I do have celiac. Dead serious. I am a gluten-free geek. That is the truth. So I am going to add, I'm going to make this scoped so that we get the same request every time. And it was the follower client. So now if I save that, wait a sec. That's the syntax I want. All right. There we go. Now it's recompiling properly. So, here we go. And see that? Spaces do work on the browser. Ha! Now, of course, if you were having that navigate somewhere, you would put a %20 in there because that's the proper URL encoding for spaces when you navigate around. So that looks good. It's black magic, the way that it converts that back and forth. I'm going to launch Postman, and we are going to see if we can force that to change and see if the SignalR stuff all worked properly. So I'm going to set my new followers count. This is still sitting here from last time. Postman just remembers it. So I'm going to click send, and it updates properly. So Jobun, his comment there was, you know what, we don't need the iffy, right? The immediately invoked function expression. And it looks like he's right. It just works. And that's pretty cool. That works. Right? And it updates automatically for me. That's fantastic. And it is black magic. It is. It really, really is. Okay. Maybe not really, really. Alright, so I'm going to close. Wrong button. That one. There we go. So I don't need this. That's extra JavaScript we don't need. And I don't need that. And you know what? Can we get this formatted properly? Format selection. And it's still not. Ugh. That looks better. But it doesn't look better. I don't need that. All right. So it's just the browser converting %20 in the address bar. Yeah. Yep. Under the hood, it's doing that so that less technical folks, the less web savvy, they still get a nice feel when they're working in the browser. So that looks good, and I can get rid of this reference to jQuery here, as was pointed out earlier. Let's get rid of that. Cool. I think we're in a good place. Now, at some point, I want to take this and put it somewhere else so it can be templated. I feel like what's really going to make this a little bit more reusable for folks is if we can make things like the background color something configurable from outside. Banderge, iffy is a good pattern to avoid variable overriding. Just gives confidence. It does. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's a way for us to namespace and hide things so that we don't run into any kind of a scope issue. Do you remember who works on the Twitch lib used in the project? They provided a new version, but I haven't checked the changelog. That was... They did join us one day when I was working with it. Let's go out to NuGet. I think it's P is what it is. Twitch lib, I think it was. Nope. Twitch lib. Swifty Spiffy, that's it. Yeah, there you go. 17 days ago, there was an update. So what was on... Livestream monitor changes, RAID extension added, Mercury field added to channel state, self-RAID error, no permission error, rated channel. Channel raids is an interesting idea that they have on Twitch, where they basically say, everybody who's a viewer over here, we're going to go and raid and drop in on somebody else's stream over there, and everybody's going to join that channel. TechEd Mallard 91, thank you for joining us. Thanks for the follow. And Steve, good job. Go get some Old Spice there, buddy. All right. It's a thing. It's fun. So I feel like at some point I need to update and retire Steve and put somebody else in there for my follower notification. I don't know. Do you guys like that Steve pops up every now and again and announces new friends? Let me know. I'm always trying to figure out what do I need to do to improve or tweak the stream a little bit. All right, so we got rid of jQuery. We've simplified this a little bit. Got rid of the iffy because we didn't really need it because of how simple this is. I do want to make that bar color because it's only here, right? That's the only place that the background color is. Am I right? Last time I checked, I guess I saw it compared follower number instead of using WebSocket like Mixer. Steve's sweaty enthusiasm is contagious. Well played. No, you know what is it using? I don't know. I thought it was using the WebSocket. Okay, we like Steve. All right. We'll keep him there. Okay, I'm just looking here. So this is the text color for the fill. And that's the background color. And then where is the color that the 500 is, the goal value? I guess that's just the default black. Right? Sabine, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Right, is this just... right? Because if I change this, let's change this to something like lime, just to make it weird. Yeah. So let me change that back to the black. Okay. So, so what I'm thinking is the other option for Twitch instead of polling for new followers is to use Twitch's webhooks for new followers. Can you just inspect that at 500 in DevTools? Yep, found it. Webhooks is interesting, but webhooks also means that I need to have the same URL always available for it to paste into, and if it's in this case running on a Docker container on my machine, I don't want Twitch to know and be able to post all the way back down into that, and it also means I would have to open a port to be able to listen to that. If I was on the open internet, that'd be one thing. But I like the idea of the portability with this. So that's a good design decision in that case if it was out on the open net. But because of the portability that I want to offer for this, where it's literally a black box that you can drop on your machine and say, okay, give me widgets, I think this is a little bit easier to use. So I think I want to make, and this is actually something I showed in some of my configuration samples that I've done for Microsoft Virtual Academy and even on my YouTube videos. I think I want to make these 4 colors: the background of the follower bar, the color of the text on it, and the fill of the bar. I think I want to make those configuration options that you can pass in and use. GitHub com, rogue exception, Discord net, in reference to centralizing chats into one place. Give me widgets, give me death. So Battle Axiom, that's pretty cool that we could use Discord and we could wire up and we could program against Discord. But the challenge that I think some folks are going to run into is, and what I was hearing is that they can't use Discord from their location, whether it's they're at work during the week or they're in a country perhaps that blocks it. But if I can centralize it using Jabber. Jabber was a test project that some folks like David Fowler on our team wrote to demonstrate IRC, to demonstrate how SignalR works. I think that might be a low-cost, low-impact, very simple way for me to centralize these things. And with only 35 folks right now chatting back and forth on there, we can handle that pretty easy on SignalR. Now, I want to come back and I want to centralize these values to make these widgets a little bit easier to program. So let's conjecture what that configuration might look like. So if I'm going to do that, I want to go into app settings. And right now, one of the features that I provided was the ability to pass in through your app settings file the captioning goal of what you want that to look like. I think we can add, quite simply here, background, empty background color, right? And right now that's Charlie. Roastern, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And you know, that's every new follower that pushes us closer towards our goal for an 8-hour ASP.NET Core workshop. So I encourage your friends to come over and check out. You know, I appreciate that very much. So let's go empty font color, and right now that is this. So now we have fill background color. And I think right now I made that just straight blue, right? Yep, 00 Fox. And then the fill font color, and right now, for me, that is just white. There we go. Something similar to this. Getting started tutorial, getting started. I think you just mentioned it. Yes, That's exactly what I'm thinking about dropping into this. So I have these 4 configuration options now. And my follower's configuration, follower goal configuration. Let's look at that. So I've just hit F12 to jump through to my follower goal configuration. And I'm just going to copy and create these same names over here. And follower goal configuration is actually being built. I'll jump over to startup. You see it here, services on line 31, configure follower goal configuration. It's going to get whatever's in that follower goal configuration section and load it into this class. So let me grab app settings. Why'd you move over there? I am going to move this into a new vertical tab group, and I'm just going to grab these last 4 options, and I'm going to create them as properties here. So let's do that real quick. I'll use the prop type ahead snippet, that's what it's called. And I will make this a string, empty background color. All right, these are all strings. So this is empty font color, string, fill background color. Cool. And then the last one was the fill font color. Right, are we still playing the same song? Yep. Okay. Just got to the end of it. All right. So those 4 properties now will be populated through this set of configuration options. So now I'll close this, save that, and followers controller. So now my follower goal configuration, it's actually going to pass that through. No, even, I can just inject that configuration. Check this out. Have you seen this? Because that class, that configuration class, is inside my dependency injection, I can actually inject it. Haha! So I can call it follower goal configuration. And that's the type, and then the name of the object that I want to put that into, let's just call it config. Right? Now it'll find an object of this type, and it'll inject into a property called config. So now I can come down here to where I have my background, and I can say at config empty background color. And I can do the same thing here at config empty font color. And I'm going to do one last ones here. Config, that's fill background color. Config, fill font color. Now, check this out, how Razor, it kind of forgot that this is CSS. And that, I think that's a known issue with the Razor editor. So I think I can cheat by adding a second style block here. I'm just going to copy that, paste it up there. And then I can get rid of these properties here. Let me do the same thing with the fill. I can actually lift that entire thing. Check this out. I'm going to hold down Alt and hit the up key. And it moves that entire block that I've got highlighted. Just move that right into this section. So now my style section below here is all, it thinks it's CSS and it's formatted it appropriately. But up top here where I've got some Razor interwoven with it, it formats it and thinks it's text, and it doesn't quite understand that. So now with that change in there, let me go back over to this. No service for type follower goal configuration has been registered. Stop it. I thought follower goal configuration. I thought we were taking that into my followers control. Oh, I need to, okay. So this is a little oddity. We have to receive this iOptions thing. I forgot about this. There's so much hotkeys that I should get familiar with, like move line or delete line or inject line. Almost feels like Vim. Actually, there is a plugin you can get that will make this exactly like Vim. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call this config options. And let me do... No, it's not system. What is that iOptions? It's a Microsoft Extensions Options. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that into view imports as a using statement. Microsoft Extensions Options. So the view imports file here is a Razor file that's actually at runtime. It's jammed at the top of every Razor file that you write, so you can put other using statements and things in here that you always want to be available whenever you write a Razor template. So I always want that options to be in a using statement for me here, so that I don't have to write out the full syntax of all that nonsense. There we go, it found it. Now I can create something follower goal configuration. You know what? No, I can even go var. Yeah. var config equals config options value. And that'll give me the real config options value. Let's see. Except of never being able to close it, it just says not responding forever. Oh, Vim? Is that what you're referring to? Vim is awesome. Don't mess with Vim. So there we go. I've got my settings now so that it's picking up and showing things now coming out of configuration. So if I go over to app settings, this one, and instead of making the fill background color blue, I can make it red. And it's not going to reload automatically. I have to kind of force it. So let me just change a little bit here, and it didn't reload my configuration settings, and it didn't reload it because I didn't change anything here, so that it would rebuild, restart the application, reparse all of my configuration. So here it goes. It's reparsing everything, and then we'll get that updated page. There it is, and now it's red. Fantastic. So I've got a little bit more configuration that I can pass through and change the way this looks. That feels pretty good to me. I think that's a lot more friendly and a easy way to do things. Now, okay, I'm passing these things in as configuration values, which means they can be environment variables that we pass in from outside the container. And I think at some point I want to be able to, I either want those to be persisted somewhere, and I can put them into like a SQLite database. But I think saving an environment variables file outside that you can use to launch is actually pretty cool. Yeah. All right. I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go back to my app settings over here. Where's app settings? I thought I just had you up. There it is. I'm going to change this back to blue because I like blue. And let's commit that. So I've got changes to my controller, startup, the goal, the view imports, app settings JSON, but we added that follower client. So let's add services follower client. Good. Goal colors are now configurable. Fantastic. Let's push that. Ooh, you know what? We just wrote that little bit of docs about the goal page. Let's add an entry here about the configuration. Color configuration. You can configure the colors of the goal bar by setting the following the following configuration options in app settings.json, or setting the appropriate environment variable. Yeah, there we go. All right, so another definition list. Easy for me to write. All right. The first term was... It wasn't developers. Bacon Space. Cool. Thank you for joining us, Bacon Space. I love me some bacon. But I'm taking a guess that I can eliminate a couple of religions that you might not participate in if you like bacon. Just nothing wrong with that. But welcome. I can assume a couple of religions that you might not be. Just saying. Just saying, but I'm just saying. And it's cool. All right, so follower goal, empty background color. So this can be follower goal, empty background color. No, wait. There are also awesome hotkeys like Control-RM creates methods from currently selected code. Control-KS makes surrounding piece of code with try-catch or something else extremely fast. Yes. I like to use Control-period just to trigger those so I can see them. Why am I blanking on this? I'm blanking. That's not good. The environment variables. Yep, it's double underscore. There we go. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. So double underscore, empty background color, and right, sets the background color of the empty bar. Right, next one was follower goal, empty font color. Sets the font color of the empty bar. All right. Not in a good mood today, family member. Oh my gosh. So sorry to hear that. All my best to you and your family, Bacon Space. I hope we can make things a little bit take your mind off of that and make you feel a little bit better, enjoy the music. But gosh, that's wish I knew about the double underscore 2 months ago. Had big issues on Linux making the colon work. Yeah. So hang on, the background color of the filled section of the bar. So what Joe Bun's hinting at there is when you use configuration, when you use configuration with ASP.NET Core, it'll by default load in environment variables and overwrite any settings that you might have. Now, on Windows, you can separate the elements, the parts of that configuration with colons, right? So on Windows, you can actually do colon, and it'll look for that hierarchy. So in this case, where I'm going follower goal and then in the nested fill background color, you can separate those that way and it'll find that key. But universally, double underscore will work as well. But 14 or 15-year-old cat, that's a pretty good long life. I lost my cat last, I'm going to say June. And I had her for 17 years or so, and she had had some digestion problems. So they actually kept her in my office here all the time, and every morning it was coming in and going, "All right, where'd she go now?" And it was terrible, and she had a real hard time at the end. I know exactly how you feel, but take it easy, and things will get better, I promise. I came to this channel for Docker, and I see somebody writing CGI code.net. So XT, is that XTS 5000? That's right. So .NET code can run inside of a Linux Docker container. Let me finish writing this last piece of code here, and we'll get this published, and I'll show you what we can do here. So this is follower goal, fill, I think it was fill font color. All right. Kind of hard to say, found it right as I would. Oh, that's terrible. Somebody on some video used the phrase control dot my way to glory. Yes. That's, I think that was actually my teammate, Scott, was doing that. Sets the font color for the filled section of the bar. All right, so .NET code inside Visual Studio, you have an option to add Docker capabilities to it automatically. And Visual Studio will generate a Docker file for you, and it's a multi-stage Docker file. And this Docker file will create a base image off of the ASP.NET Core image you see up here, and go and bring in my CSproj, my project file, restore the packages to it. Tenno Diablo, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And thank you, Steve. And then it actually does the build. It'll restore packages and do the build in release mode all inside this package. And then it'll publish it back into that base Docker container. So what this does, what this does then is it'll give me my little ASP.NET Core application running inside the Docker container, and all of my C# artifacts are left out somewhere else. Now, this project is called Stream Tools, and it provides some of the visualizations you actually see here on the stream. That bar, that workshop goal bar that you see up at the top, is being generated from ASP.NET Core. It's a web page that's running inside of a Linux-based Docker container that's running on my Windows 10 machine. It's nested, right? It's containers and virtualization all the way down. So that's what's going on there. And this page isn't loading because I shut down. So that's what this Docker container will do for me. And then I have a compose that'll allow me to wire up and hook up my various debuggers and things. And if I wanted to put a database container with it, I can do that there as well. So I've saved everything. I've got my little bit of documentation here. Let me do another git status. And I think, yeah, I only added that docs. So I'm actually going to do a git commit. Is it amend like that? Let's see here. All right. Right, isn't it? Oh, it's 1M. Rats. So I just want to stick that onto the last one here. Goal colors are now configurable. Oh, look at this. I'm in VI. I'm in VI. Chris, what am I going to do? I know my VI keys. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a man. I'm going to press the capital A and get to the end of this. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, here's what I'm going to do. Let's do this. Let's make sure our Karnak is running so you can see the keys as I'm typing them. Right? That'll feel good. Right, so if I do... Oh, no, it's not going to show them. Karnak doesn't show it. End of stream. End the stream. Can't leave VI. No. Configuration options. Detailed in docs. There we go. And Shift-Z twice saves and closes the file. How else would it run in a POSIX environment? Setting up Canvas is a pain for a while. Not mono, ASP.NET Core. Yeah, that's right. This is ASP.NET Core. It's not mono, or Miguel prefers to call it mono. But yeah, this is ASP.NET Core. This is all .NET. So ASP.NET Core runs in Linux, runs in Mac, runs everywhere you want to be. It's like a credit card or something. All right, so my stuff is committed there. I will git push. Updates were rejected because the tip of your branch is behind. Go away. .NET CLI is amazing. It is. And our friend, she used to be an MVP, Kathleen Dollard, is actually the head of the .NET CLI team now. She's got a tremendous background in templating and writing C# code for the longest time. And wait to see what she's doing with the CLI here in the next bit. Really great stuff. Tremendous respect for Kathleen. And actually, we're talking about having Kathleen on the stream here in a week or two, and we'll do some work actually with Visual Studio Code on a Mac. She really wants to do some work with that. All right, so I've got my stuff pushed up. Yep, you've got VS Code on Linux if you'd like, and that does a lot of the features that you see in Visual Studio already. So JetBrains Rider, sure, Rider does a nice job. I'm going to build my package now, my updated Docker container here. So let's take a look at that. Here's what I've got, and I showed you my Docker file sitting here in the background. I actually I have a build script that sits here that runs the Docker build command and then does a push out to a private Docker registry. And eventually, when we're pretty confident in that, we'll push it out to the public repository. So I'm going to do a build of that. And I think I'm going to be calling this 064 is what I'll call this. So let's do build. And I can pass the argument in for my version number. And it'll actually do that compile and build my container, tag it appropriately with the version number that I specified, and send it out. Does she do C# in Discord? Kathleen does C# in many different places. Just amazing stuff that she writes and knows how to work with. Tried setting it up on my Arch setup, but doesn't feel right. Rider, that is, still in development, so I'm on the lookout. Yeah, Rider still is in development. The folks at JetBrains are working on that, and we should see them progress here a little bit. Is it hard to make bots in C#? So you're kind of looking at something that I started tinkering with down here. The thing with a bot for Discord or Mixer or Twitch is it's not there. It's actually an IRC bot. You have to listen on those. You have to listen on that socket, and then you can interact and push stuff back and forth. It looks easy to do. I got some tips how to do that from my friend Suze Hinton when she was doing some work with bots on her stream, listening and interacting with them from Node. But I want to do a little bit more. I want to hook it up to Lewis, so I get that language understanding capabilities. So we'll see about that. I have to answer some questions from the wife here. Here we go. Good. All right. And the wife is all set. Chat is on WebSocket. Yes. All right. So I've pushed up and I've updated my repository out there. So I now have my new... the real CEO checking it. Yes. That's right. The boss is calling. Look at that. Karnak stopped working. Ugh. All right. What do I want to do? I want to pull that down now to my production machine and update the live bars and things that I have up here. So I'm going to Control C and kill my current application that's running and hosting here. If I decide to use Docker and host ASP.NET Core sites in Azure Container Service, yeah. Does that mean that if I want to have multiple instances scaling out in a service plan, all infrastructure questions like load balancing should be handled by me? No, actually. So the Azure Container Service will load balance as you scale out. But if there are other things that you want to load balance, if you want to have multiple microservices inside of them, you're going to have to configure that individual load balancing to those services. But that front end point, Azure will load balance for you, I believe. So let me do my Docker pull here. Right? I don't have a pull. No. So let me do Docker pull. And I've got to go to Fritz registry, Azure CR.io. Plus, you have many different ways to implement networking with Docker. Yes, all kinds of ways that you can tinker with that and set up internal Docker networking, right? So you have an outward-facing service, right? That's probably a web endpoint or some sort of an endpoint that you're exposing. You may expose multiple endpoints, but the internal inside of it, you can do all kinds of tricks and things to work back and forth. Mixer is WebSocket, not IRC. Twitch is IRC. So look into using Kubernetes to orchestrate your containers. There's another great recommendation. Absolutely. I'm going to finish pulling down my stream tools here so I get the latest copy, which is what I just pushed up. There we go. Fantastic. And now when I run my application, I actually have my environment variables sitting here in the text file. There they are. So I can change some of my settings. So if I say, what was it, follower goal? Right? What was my follower goal? This one. And I want to change the background color, right? So I will change that. I'm going to come over to this. Oops. And I can just make that the word red, and it'll take that. So now let me rerun. No. Run. So it passes in my environment variable. See this env file? It passes that in. And now it'll attach to my streams. And if I tell it to refresh my follower goal, widget. XTS 5000, thank you. I appreciate the follow. There we go, and it'll finish the refresh, and we should get the right color there. There it goes. Now it's red. Fantastic. What is this Twitch, you say? Yeah. Twitch is a thing. Alright. So I'm going to change that configuration back from red to blue. RGB. There we go. And actually, you know what? I like navy. Let's make it navy. Right? And it would be nice to be able to push that in perhaps later. Give a way to tinker and play with those settings. So I'll just refresh that now that my application is running, and we should see the bar up at the top turn navy. There it is. Fantastic. I'm going to let it go like that. All right. Ooh, where'd that go? That's fine. So I'll pull that down so you can actually see my code again. So we did a little bit of work today with SignalR. We cleaned up some of our SignalR code. And we also started moving some of the configuration for this. What the heck? There we go. Moving some of the configuration for my follower goal bar out into another space. So Chris is highlighting, yes, I'll be at the next Philly.net meetup. And they're going to broadcast that live on Mixer on January 24th. So I encourage you to check that out. And if you're in the Philly area, stop by, say hello. Be happy to see you. Question. How did I fix the bar width within OBS? So we did that a little bit earlier today, Bruno. The bar width, it actually was a little bit grouchy. So I just pulled it down and I set it to 780. I made it just a little bit smaller than the full width, and it gave me just enough room there that it didn't cut off. So that was real easy for me to fix. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about, you've probably seen me complain that when I come down here into the recent projects and solutions, this thing has been empty down here, right? Let me close my solution. I want to show you this. Because if you're running into the same problem that I've been running into, I want you to know that I was actually working with someone on this week. So let me close that. And now I'll rerun. I feel like Firefox is just devouring this machine over here. Yeah, look at that. I closed Firefox and it's running a bit faster, a bit smoother now. Bacon Space, thank you for the follow. I thought you were following me. Are you double following me on each of the two services? Had to switch to Twitch. All right, that works for me. And you're a Twitch Prime member. That's cool. So now check this out. So when I go recent projects and solutions, see that? See how that's empty? I worked with one of the developers on the Visual Studio team this week. And it's cool being able to call them and say, hey, let's work on this. So this is actually a problem, and if you mouse away from it and you come back, it fills up. It's actually a problem coming out of the productivity power tools. So if I go to extensions and updates, it's actually not the full productivity power tools. It's actually, where is it? This one, power commands in Visual Studio. If I disable this one, and it ships with the productivity power tools, right? And I go to restart Visual Studio. I go File. Yep, it's got to reinitialize its cache. And come over to Recent Projects and Solutions, and it's populated every time. So it's that one extension. If you have the Power Commands extension installed, all right, let's bring that back up. There it is. Power Commands for Visual Studio. And this comes with the Productivity Power Tools. There's a bug in it that is making that last used list. It's making that hard to it's making it not load properly first time in, and that's what the problem is. So if you are using this, if you are using the productivity power tools, if that's annoying you, you can disable it and it will start working properly for you. I think that's all that I have time for today. We did a little bit with SignalR. We centralized that client that we were using to post things back and forth. Oh, thank you for hosting, Bacon Space. I appreciate that. See, doesn't that look nice? Got Barney there applauding. So we centralized how we're passing commands down. How do I make my Twitch chat use sub emotes? So I don't have Discord wired up over there. But I do have bug and extensions. Who does that? That Productivity Power Tools team is working on that. So they know about it and they're going to go and fix that. Yeah, subscriber emotes. I forget how to... There's a way to turn that on. I haven't done that in Twitch. What else? What's SignalR? Oh, come on now. That's what we were talking about. SignalR is this way to give us this live interaction back and forth so that we can use things like WebSockets abstractly and be able to get older browsers that don't support WebSockets to be able to connect and have that live feeling interacting with our website. But I think that's all I have the time for today. So I've pushed back my updates to the Git repository, right? Where did we go? Let's try Chrome. GitHub. There we go. So I pushed the updates back up here. I think it's a little bit easier to use now. And I've started putting some documentation into it, so it's a little bit easier to see how and why things work. But I think I need some more work here, and I'd love to hear some feedback from you as to how to make that a little bit easier to use. I don't have a Discord set up, Bacon Space. So I'm working on trying to figure out how to do the docs a little bit better here. But I will be back on Tuesday morning, and we'll do some more work on cleaning this up. I think I want to start working on that viewers widget. So you see the viewers up in the corner there. We've got the viewers from Twitch and the viewers from Mixer. We've already got the hooks inside the two service classes that are connecting and interacting with those two services. And they do actually have the number of viewers there. So I think we can start creating a widget to replace that, customized and sitting inside of our application, and then we can actually embed and use that in the stream as well. And then on Thursday next week, Glenn Condren will be joining us, and we'll be doing some pair programming with him. Maybe we can figure out a little bit and start working on our chat project and integrating that into the stream. I have a request out to some folks from the Docs team, the Microsoft Docs team. I have some documentation that I want to make sure gets submitted and in there about configuration builders. Not necessarily mine, but the configuration builders that are part of .NET 4.7.1. I want to update and get some examples in there. It's code that I'm writing as part of my normal full-time job. And I want to share with you the experience of submitting and updating that. So we're going to bring on, I think we're going to be bringing on Myra from the Docs team, and we'll take a look at how that workflow runs. So thank you everyone for joining me here today, and I hope to see you on Tuesday back here. Your choice of Mixer or Twitch. The recording will go over to YouTube a little bit later today, and I hope to get some wrap-up blog posts written up and all about what we've done here the past few days. Alrighty. I'll catch you later. Thanks so much for joining.